You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
Now we're here together and we don't know how to start. Like,
we're here, we're together.
Together again.
Welcome to a very special Q&A episode.
Q&A episode, I liked that.
So we're not really a Podword Crosscast.
We're just two girls who host a Podword Crosscast today.
Answering your questions.
Answering your questions.
Although some questions were about crosswords, so.
Yeah, some questions were about crosswords. But why are we doing a special Q&A episode?
Well, it's all my fault, okay? So if you're upset about this, talk to me. I just can't record for the next couple weeks, so we're doing this ahead of time. We hope you enjoy it. We hope it tides you over until we can come back again with a normal episode.
Yes, which I think it will. We haven't done something like this before.
No, well, I feel like we've tried to do this before, but no one asked us questions. But now we actually got questions.
Like, we got a good amount of questions. I was surprised how many we got. Not to, like, brag or anything, of course.
And from people that don't know us personally, too.
I know. That was probably, I was, like, nervous that we were just going to get something from, like, our friends. And we did get some from our friends, but they also listen to the podcast, which is a whole other issue. But, yeah, we got a bunch from people we don't know. And I was like, okay, are we, like, famous?
Kind of. We are in my book.
Yeah, we're famous to these people who left us questions. So
thanks.
Thank you for that. But yes, this is Two Girls, One Crossword Q&A episode.
Yeah.
Q&A episode. But this is something you can come back to, listen to.
It's timeless.
Yeah, the answers to these questions will literally never change.
No. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that we're actually sitting next to each other. But it's actually a Parent Trap type situation where we're both in front of a green screen and Chelsea has edited it to look like we're next to each other.
It's true. She's not actually in the same room as me. I could pretend to punch her and it would just go right through because she's not here. But I won't show you because I don't want to
ruin the mirage.
Yeah, ruin the gag or whatever it's called.
Well, all that to say is if you hear a cat meowing angrily in the background, there's nothing I can do to stop it.
This is Grace's new apartment. She moved.
Yes, I moved. I'm not giving anyone any more information about it.
This is it. This is all you're going to see.
But I moved and my cat is not happy about it and he is letting us know. So
yes.
If you hear crying in the background, that's him. Or me, if anyone asks a really sensitive question.
All right, so should we just hop into it? I feel like, okay, first, we're just going to preface that we did not prep answers to these questions. So we're going to just read them off the cuff. We're going to read them live. We may or may not call people's names. I don't think we will. Just
depending on if the question is kind of weird and we're like, oh, this is someone we know sent this to us.
Yes, then we'll clarify. But otherwise, we're going to keep it anonymous and hopefully answer these questions to our heart's content, to sate your curiosity about us, the two most interesting girls who do crosswords in the entire world. So, shall we get into it? Shall we do it?
Let's.
All right.
Do it.
Do you want to ask the first question? It's a good one to kick us off.
This is one of those where I feel like we should mention that we know this person. Our friend Mike asked, do y'all F with Airbud / Dr. Phil?
Oh, this is one of those hard-hitting questions where I think the answer is really important. I feel like, okay, first of all, it's clear to me that Mike does not listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Because
we did a whole Airbud episode. And so Mike really likes Airbud. It's kind of like part of his personality and one of the reasons we love him very much. But I don't understand what the question's really asking, though. Do we F with him? I like Airbud. Dr. Phil, I do find some of his stuff entertaining. Like, I have gone down the YouTube rabbit holes of his clips, but I actually think he is, takes advantage of people.
Yes. And I think what is fun, quote unquote, about Dr. Phil is the meme culture around him.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that he looks just like Kid Rock.
Yeah.
And he dressed up as it once for Halloween, and he looked just like him. He wore a wig, and he really looked just like him.
Yes. And the fact that our friend Mike harasses Dr. Phil on Twitter.
Yeah.
For the sake of humor. It's fun.
It's okay.
It's not
never feel bad for a millionaire. That's
the first order of business, second order of business. It's not true harassment. He just occasionally asks Dr. Phil to take his shirt off.
We'll revisit that. Should we just go down this
Let's just keep going.
list?
Okay.
How long have you two known each other and how did you meet?
Ooh.
I feel like we've talked about this before.
We have. We've talked about this in pieces on the podcast a couple times. I feel like we were on
Fill Me
In, and we were also on Chica's podcast, Girl Jam. We talked a little bit about how we met and like our whole history. Grace and I met because we started I started working at the place that she was working at. We work in different departments, but like the kind of thing about our company is that like the big open kitchen is kind of like what you walk into, and everyone's getting breakfast in the morning, and everybody is like hanging out and chatting, and everybody eats lunch together in the kitchen. It's a very like
it's pretty friendly.
It's very friendly, and it's everyone's
a lot of people our age.
And so just by the virtue of like being in the same space, that's kind of how we met. I was very intimidated by Grace at first.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think Grace can be shy, which now I know her. I know it's as shyness, but
it's just shyness and crippling anxiety. I've gotten that before, though. I know that that's a thing. Like, if you don't talk, people think that you think you're like better than them.
Right. And not that I thought you thought that you were better than me, but more that like you had like your own group of friends, and you weren't necessarily looking for more, which is totally fine because I'm very much that way as well. But I used to do the crossword, which they would set the crossword out on the counter in the kitchen at work. And I used to do the crossword, and like, Grace would come and get her tea, and she'd kind of stand next to me and look over my shoulder, and we kind of like...
I feel like I started doing the crossword first.
Well, you definitely started doing the crossword first because you were there first, but I also...
There were a couple of us in the office that were interested in the crossword.
Yes.
So when we were happened to be in the kitchen at the same time, it was like, oh, come here, like, let's work on this.
Right, because they used to just set out the crossword on the counter. People would just like walk by and like fill something in. No one ever actually like sat and like tried to complete the crossword every single day. We were like filling things in, and sometimes we would get tea and we'd be standing there for like 15, 20 minutes trying to solve this crossword.
Oh, I guess we should go back to work now.
We should go to work now. Yeah, exactly. And then eventually that evolved to like, hey, do you want to eat lunch and like do the crossword? And so then we would literally sit at the counter every single day, eat the same meal.
As each other and every day too. Like every month we would cycle what the meal was. It would be like
a salad with falafel or
peanut butter sandwich and Doritos.
Yes. And you would have a Coke and I have a Pepsi.
Yeah.
We're very,
can you tell that we have anxiety?
And so, I kind of started us just doing the crossword together at the counter. And then we eventually like made more friends and sat at the kitchen, the tables with the rest of the company. But that's how we met.
How long ago was it?
I started there in 2017. Like full time. But I had been working there in 2016. I think in 2017 is really though when we like finally like sat and started doing the crossword. Because before I was running, it wasn't like...
Only about 4 years or so.
Yeah.
Feels like it's been longer.
That's weird.
Are you sure it's right?
It's 2017
that sounds
for
right,
sure, yeah.
We can go back and look at our work holiday parties and see it's like, oh, we have like pictures, but we weren't really like friends.
Right.
And then it evolves over the years.
Oh, yeah. So 2017, we all went together, but like we weren't friends yet. And I think 2018 was the year of the matching suits.
But what happened too is a lot of our friends, like a lot of them left, and then we were the last one standing.
So we kind of just had to be friends with each other.
Yeah. All right. How long did it take before you both realized you were into crosswords?
We kind of answered that. Yeah. I've always been into crosswords. I think you have too.
No, I hadn't.
Oh, really?
I just got into crosswords at work because people were doing it. As I mentioned before, I have anxiety, and I feel like crossword is a good way for me to like talk to people, kind of, without like having to come up with conversation.
Right.
Because you just talk about the crossword.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So I only got into it at work. I don't think I'd ever done a crossword before then. I was really bad when I started.
Oh,
I don't feel like I'm amazing now, but it's a testament to like, if you really just do it enough times, then you
seriously,
get better at it.
Really. But yeah, I've always done crosswords, and I think seeing Grace like hover over the crossword was like, oh, she likes crosswords too. I should know her.
Okay, so they said it seems like you do a lot of crossword puzzles based on our hits and shits. On average, how many do you each work weekly on a regular basis, and what are your favorites?
It depends. It really depends on the week, because
sometimes I only do like 4 a week, and then sometimes I do like 10.
Right. I think like
I would like to do one
a day. I try to do at least one a day. I try to build it into like my routine. I try to do a crossword in the morning with breakfast and coffee. But if that doesn't happen because I rolled out of bed and then rolled into my work chair in my apartment, then I try to do one at lunch. I think like with working from home, it really shifted how frequently I do crosswords. You and I used to do like
We used to do a lot at
we used
lunch,
to print like 3 out.
And we had a group of people doing it too, so they would all get done.
Yeah,
quicker.
all of them would get done. We would do more when we were like at our office and doing them together at lunch, but like I'm kind of doing crosswords on my own most of the time now. Like Matt, when he's like awake or not working, he'll do crosswords with me as well, but it's harder, I think. I love doing crosswords, but I find that crosswording for me is definitely more of like a social activity. I like to sit with somebody and do a crossword.
Same.
But all that to say is I definitely try to do 1 a day, sometimes 2 a day if I'm having a good week. But during a busy week, you're lucky if I'm getting 4 crosswords done.
I might do 2 a day, but then the next day I don't do any. So
right.
Yeah, it all kind of just depends.
Yeah. And what are our favorites? Oh,
I like the New Yorker.
The New Yorker.
WayPost Sunday.
The WayPost Sunday.
Saturday.
No, it's a Sunday.
Sunday. And
the USA Today.
USA Today.
But of course, we do the New York Times as well. We started doing the New York Times, and we
just named like all the major ones. But
yeah. We didn't realize that there were more I mean, I always knew that there were more crosswords in the New York Times, but I always thought New York Times was the be all end all. Mm-hmm. And the more obviously you get into crosswording, you realize like, yeah, there is like a sort of elitism to the New York Times, and there are so many other incredible outlets. There's even amazing like indie outlets that we used to do a lot more indies when we were at work.
Subscribe to.
We're subscribed to a couple, and I get all the emails, but we never do them because you have to do them like with the Across Light app.
It's so much nicer to just log into the like USA Today app and do them there.
And we used to do the indies, and we'd print them out at work, and do them at the table. So we don't get to do that as much anymore.
Someone says that Chelsea mentions her boyfriend Matt, but does Grace have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? She never mentions one. I do have a girlfriend. Her name's Alex, and I have mentioned her. Yes. I believe.
Yes, you definitely
many times.
Yeah, and I do talk about Matt a lot. Matt is my boyfriend. Okay, this is another question about crosswords. What crossword trends or clues are you tired of or do you love?
Tired of all the problematic ones like NRA, Coco Chanel.
Yeah, those they gotta go.
We've talked about those
before. Talked about those. I also I know that we need clues like these and answers like this, but I hate ones that are like a man's name if you remove the E or whatever. Or like
an apt name for a optometrist. But sometimes those are funny, actually.
Sometimes those are funny, yeah. I personally just don't like a woman's name if you remove the I, or I'm like,
or the man's name found in broccoli.
Right.
And it's like, well,
yeah.
Obviously that one doesn't work, but
yeah. So I think those are ones that like when I see them, I just feel like, ugh.
They feel tedious.
They feel tedious, and like I know that you need them in crosswords and whatever.
Sometimes they're nice though, because you can always solve them.
It's true. It's true. What about the ones that we like? That's hard.
I like play on words.
I tend to really love the question mark clues, especially when the answer is good, which I know it's like duh, but yeah.
Any ones that are kind of like funny and off color. Anyone that is we love anytime we see something that's like geared toward like something that mostly women are interested in, or like queer people. Yes. It's always like fun to see that.
It is, because you do the New York Times for so long. The New York Times is changing. I have noticed that since when we first started doing crosswords in 2017, where they wouldn't even put like Marie Kondo in the puzzle, now like you're seeing things like pad, as in like a period product in the New York Times, which is like good, but you wouldn't have seen that like even 5 years ago. So yeah, anything that kind of like shakes things up a little bit, we like. This is funny. Who is better at crosswords? I think that's a very subjective question.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. It's hard to tell though, because like I feel like I've gotten worse since not doing them at the office. I feel like when we were at the office, we were pretty. It depends. We each have strengths. Yeah. Like Chelsea is much better at like history, art, anything like that.
Right. And you definitely have more of the pop culture covered, and also like a lot of really weird random facts.
True. Yes.
There's some things that like I would never be able to answer, and Grace knows like the back of her hand, and I think vice versa. So it's hard to say who's better at crosswords. We both have topics that we are stronger in
Yeah.
And then there's topics that like neither of us are strong in, and we really benefited from doing crosswords in person at the office because we'd be like, oh, that guy, he gets all the baseball questions, or that guy gets all the rock from the 60s questions, whatever.
I feel like when we do the New Yorker together, we're pretty like evenly matched. It just depends on the puzzle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which constructors do you love to see and why? We talk about them all the time.
We do.
Like Paolo.
Anytime like Paolo's name, Eric comes up.
Amy Lucido.
Amy, Brooke Husick is good. You
Robin,
like Ross.
Ross Trudeau, Robin Weintraub.
Yep.
Evan Bernholz.
Evan Bernholz. We haven't seen Evan Kalish's name, but I've liked Evan's puzzles and the other Evan in the past. I've liked his puzzles. But yeah, Evan Bernholz is a real like. It's hard to like say like when Evan's name comes up. Like Evan has a puzzle out every Sunday in the Washington Post, and we
take him for granted. But the puzzle's always good.
The puzzles are amazing. They're always these incredible themes, and Grace and I are like to live in his mind. He is incredibly smart, and his puzzles are always really fun to solve. So
Zhaoxin Bernakel.
Yes.
I feel like
Lou.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I know we're missing people.
I like listen to any of our episodes.
Yeah. Who burps the most during recording? Chelsea.
Well, it's always because I eat dinner right before we record. And like on days that I'm recording, I always want it to be like a simple dinner. So like it's like a frozen pizza or something. And but like of course
cheese makes you phlegmy. But I always feel like we like pull up on the Zoom. She's like, I just drank a LaCroix. I was like, great, you'll be burping.
I just had cheese pizza and I drank a LaCroix. I'm feeling a lot of something going on in my throat. So it's definitely me. Oh, this is funny. This one is from Matt, my boyfriend. GIF or GIF?
I say GIF.
I definitely say GIF. That's it.
All right.
That's it and that's all?
Are there more legs or eyes in this world? Human, like, if we're talking all legs,
I think
there's more
general.
legs.
Well, what
like
about fish?
You're right.
But ants.
Yeah, in some insects.
They got
but
a lot
spiders
of them.
have a lot of eyes, though.
They do.
As well.
And I think there's like a lot of fish.
Yeah.
I'd hazard a guess and say fish. Well, eyes, sorry.
Well, almost everyone that has two eyes has two legs.
Except
fish. Right. Okay. Sorry, I keep forgetting about fish.
Yeah, well, right, exactly. Think about like the shoals of like anchovy.
Yeah.
Alone, or krill, or shrimp. They all have eyes.
You're right.
But they also have a lot of legs. Some of these, they got like shrimps got legs.
Centipedes have like a lot of, I don't know, they're packing a lot of legs.
And ants have quite a few legs too. And so do spiders.
No way to know.
No way to know, but I'm gonna say eyes because I feel like I have to. I'm gonna put eyes on the table here, and
I'll say legs, and we'll see.
Okay.
Someone let us know if this is actually counted somewhere. Does pineapple belong on pizza? I personally don't like pineapple, but I feel like if you want to put it on your pizza, put it on your pizza.
I love pineapple. I just finished a pineapple that I cut up real nice today. Well, I didn't cut it up nice today. I cut it up nice earlier this week, and I finished it this week. And yes, I do like pineapple on pizza, but I feel like pineapple on pizza has to be accompanied with ham. It has to be the Hawaiian, and it's because the saltiness of the ham really balances the sweetness of the pineapple. I wouldn't, I'm a vegetarian now, so I can't eat Hawaiian pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't eat pineapple on pizza.
Nope, you heard it here first.
It's all too sweet.
What
else we got?
What episode topic do you most think about in your day-to-day? I think it changes. I know what mine is now, though. It's the license plates.
Oh.
I'm always looking at people's license plates now.
Okay. This is a really hard one for me because I struggle with object permanence. So it's almost like this podcast doesn't exist until I actually have to record it. But I feel like I talk about the previous topics for like 2 weeks. Like I've been telling people about sweet hearts and conversation hearts for like the last 2 weeks. I was talking about martinis for ages.
Mm-hmm. Kind of, yeah. I feel like I go through phases, like, and it all depends if something comes up naturally a lot. I feel like license plates come up a lot.
Come up a lot. And I think I also often think about like our recurring characters.
Mm-hmm. Benny Franks.
Like Benny Franks, and now like the Ice King, Mr. Tudor, who is connected to the license plate topic, you know, like
Yeah.
I think about that. And like the reason I think about the conversation hearts is because it's connected to Twilight, you know, so, but I do think the topics that I have just randomly brought up the most often are the dolphin topic and Hunter, Kelly.
Lisa Frank.
Lisa Frank.
Lisa Frank came out with croc gibbets, if anyone's interested. Yeah, I know, they're amazing. Trust me, I just bought new croc flip-flops.
Ton of Crocs as a present, or a ton of Croc gibbets as a present recently. And I'm like, I had no idea that there was Lisa Frank ones.
Wait, do you have them?
Well, not right now.
Okay.
I do have them. I should have shown them when you were over.
You have them?
Well, not the Lisa Frank ones.
Oh, okay. But you have all these gibbets.
Yeah.
Well, I got new Crocs and I got holes to fill, so they gave me like a $5 off, so I'm definitely going to buy Lisa Frank gibbets with that. How do you decide if you're considering multiple topics for the week?
Ooh.
Whichever one is like actually most exciting for me to research. Sometimes I start a topic and I'm like, I just don't care about this, so I feel like I'm not going to do a good job.
Right. The way I pick topics is usually like I do the crosswords and I keep a list of like, oh, that could be good, that could be good, that could be good. And then I kind of like go back and I like try to decide like, oh, I've done like 4 food topics in a row. I shouldn't do another food topic. Or I've done 5 ancient China topics in a row. I shouldn't do that. So I try to like minimize the amount of like repeats I do. And I sometimes I'm like, you know what? I would never do a topic like this. So fuck it. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I try to do something random sometimes because I can be really one note with the things that I pick just because like that's what I'm interested in. And like one of the reasons why I want to do this podcast is to learn things like that I would never have looked into before.
If any topic I look into has like any type of conspiracy or like twist, like the Lisa Frank topic, then that's another deciding factor. It's like, oh yeah, I got to do this.
Well, one of the topics that I would never have researched before was the Diane Fauci topic, which was the primatologist who went to Rwanda. Like, not something I'm interested in, really. Like, you know, I like great apes. Like the next person, but as much as the next person, but I don't really care that much about talking about their lives, really. It's just not something I'm interested in. But boy, oh boy, did I find a twist and did I find a turn in that one. And so, yeah, like sometimes you pick something you would never do and you're like,
oh, wait, this is way more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a pre or post recording ritual?
Dinner first.
I change. Sometimes I have dinner before or after, and if I'm having dinner after, you can probably hear my stomach growling.
Right. Afterwards, she'll be like, I gotta go, I haven't eaten dinner. I'm like, bye. I mean, I feel like dinner before is always for me because otherwise I'll be distracted the whole time. I try to read through my notes and like practice how I'm going to speak. So if it sounds like I'm reading from a script, it's because I practiced it 500 times. And also like I struggle with like when I get interrupted, I completely like the thought that I just had will get deleted. So I really try to like know it like the back of my hand, which might make me come off feeling like very rehearsed sometimes. And this is something I feel stressed about rehearsed. That. But yeah, that's something I do. I always read it.
I read through once, but I have to do it out loud.
I do it out loud.
Yeah.
Are you fucking with me? Do you do it out loud?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I do it out loud too. And sometimes Matt like looks around. I'm like, I'm doing my research. I'm reciting. I'm sorry.
Well, I have to read out loud, and then it's like, well, this doesn't sound normal. So then I have to like, edit the way the information is. But
yeah.
As far as when we get on, no, we usually like chat a little bit at the beginning, but we don't want to talk too much because then
we like don't
run out of things to talk about.
I know that happens sometimes when we get on and we haven't spoken, and like sometimes like we only speak during our recording for the week.
Well, no, that's not true. We only like speak face to face, but we talk over sending TikToks and other random stuff.
Right. And we voice message each other. But like face to face, it's like seeing your friend after a while, and so you're like you want to talk about something that just happened, and it's like keep it for the recording.
Keep this energy. Do you like your friends and family listening, or do you tell them not to?
I could never get my dad and my brothers to listen to this podcast. I couldn't twist their arms hard enough to do it. So I don't have to worry about that. And Matt's family does listen to my podcast. And I love when they text me and they're like, oh, I listened to this and I have this anecdote or this, that, and the other. I love that. Friends listening, on the other hand, I don't mind necessarily, but I find it shocking.
Yeah.
When I
feel like I don't want anyone to feel like they have to listen.
Yeah.
So I never like push on anyone. Sometimes it is weird to me, like, but it's always nice. I mean, if people, it is shocking to me more. It's like, well, you know me in real life and you still want to listen to me like blabber on
About
and on.
this? Yeah.
Yeah. I know my mom listens.
Mm-hmm.
My dad doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think my sister does.
Mm.
Is it Elisa? If you're listening, text me turtle.
I was with some friends the last weekend, and somehow, like, we were just chit-chatting, and Michael brought up, he said something like, oh, like when you said this on your podcast last week.
And you're like, wait a minute.
And I was like, wait a second. You listen to my podcast?
On a weekly basis?
And he's like, yeah, I try to listen to it every week. And I'm like, okay. And then Hannah was standing right there, and she's like, oh yeah, I listen too. And I was like,
I didn't know
Hannah?
they both. Well, until you told me, I didn't know they both listened.
No, I know. I was shocked. Not because, like, I feel like, our friends might listen once in a while, but I also feel like they probably have their own podcast that they are listening to, like, their weekly lineup. But to hear that people in our lives listen regularly, I'm just like, damn, we must not be that boring.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Let's see.
Capers, your thoughts?
Okay, are we talking about capers the food or capers like spy novels?
I'm guessing the food.
I like capers.
I feel like I'm neutral. I don't think I like eat. I feel like I've had them a couple times. I don't remember hating them, but I don't like buy them.
I have them in the fridge.
Oh, there you go.
But I definitely don't eat them as much as I used to when I was eating meat. Because I would eat capers on like bagel and lox, It's real, honestly, the only time. And like some pasta, like Italian dishes will have capers in it. I don't go out of my way to use capers, and I don't go out of my way to avoid capers. I like them on some dishes.
So we're like positive neutral.
Positive neutral to the caper question.
Have you watched, read, etc. anything good lately?
Ooh. This is like a... So I'll just preface this by saying I watch way too much television.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I watch a lot of TV. Starting in 2020 with quarantine, I started watching K-dramas, and I literally only watch K-dramas. I counted recently, and since I started watching K-dramas in 2020 up until now, and this is not including any Chinese dramas, Thai dramas, or Vietnamese dramas that I've also watched, or Japanese dramas, I have seen 95 K-dramas.
Oh my god, how many episodes is each?
16, and they're like an hour and 20 each.
Wow. Well, okay, if you were going to recommend one for like a newbie to get into.
Ooh. The first one I watched was It's Okay to Not Be Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an interesting like exploration of like mental health. But I feel like Itaewon Class is a bit better, more accessible. So Netflix. I'm currently watching one right now called My Liberation Notes about a group of siblings that are trying to like break free from the drudgery of like day-to-day corporate life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautifully written. The pacing is gorgeous. It's very cinematic. I think K-dramas get a lot of like flack for being very soapy, and some of them can be very soapy. And I love every minute of it. But some are like, it's better television than anything you could see in the West, in my personal opinion.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. So I'm watching that, and I only watch K-dramas. If you're ever looking for K-drama recommendations, just write me, because it's my fixation right now, so I will literally word vomit at you. In terms of reading, sorry, I'm busy watching K-dramas.
Let's see. I feel like I watch a good amount of TV and read a good amount, but I'm trying to think of like what has stuck with me. Well, I just finished the show. I feel like I never hear anyone talk about it, called Hunters on Amazon Prime. It stars Logan Lerman from which is a little young for me, but I know he was like a big deal for
yes,
my girlfriend in particular. But it's it like takes place in the 70s in New York, and it's basically about a ragtag group of vigilantes that hunt Nazis.
Oh, I've never heard of this.
I know, but it's really good. It's really well done, and I'm like normally I only watch like comedies or horror or like rom-coms,
Mhm.
but I'm not into drama. And it's drama, but it is funny and it's well done. It's very like interesting the way they do it. And it's very like 70s vibes, really good cast. And it's also interesting because it takes place post World War II, post Vietnam War. And they talk about how like the US basically brought all these Nazis over to the US so that Russia wouldn't take them to Russia. So it kind of ties into like the stuff that we've talked about.
Yeah.
A lot of it was bringing Nazi scientists to come work at NASA and take us to the moon. But anyways, I recommend it. It is like violent. If you don't mind violence, it's worth watching. It's very interesting. And very like topical, I feel like, to a lot of things that are going on now.
It's interesting because like I have an Amazon Prime account, but I can't remember the last time I watched anything on Amazon Prime because they don't have any K-dramas. I'll just say that right now.
Well, someone recommended it to us, but Robert De Niro's in it.
Oh, really?
The lady with the curly blonde hair from Kimmy Schmidt is in it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's it's good. And then
what have I read? I feel like I finally read Crying in H Mart. Finally. And I cried. But I didn't cry in H Mart.
Just like they want you to.
I cried. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like obviously I'm not Asian and so I can't relate to that experience. But the mother-daughter aspect was really well written, and it talks so much about the complexity of like that kind of relationship. So
I want to read that. I've heard good. Did you read it or did you listen to the?
I read it.
Okay.
Do you have a copy? I can give you it.
Yeah, I think. No, yeah, I think Alex listened to the audiobook, but the author reads the audiobook, so people say that that's good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I love Michelle Zauner because I listen to Japanese Breakfast. It's like one of my fave bands. And it's always so interesting to me because her first band that she was in is like a local, a local Philadelphia band. And I was like in the Philly music scene, not in the Philly music. I was much too young to be there, but I was there. And it's just interesting to think of like, I probably saw her band at some point or was in the same room as her at some point. Now she's like this massive star. Anyway.
So you're basically her best friend.
7 Degrees of Michelle Zauner. I was there.
I forgot the title of it, but I promise that this book did leave an impression on me. It's Plain Bad Heroines by Emily Danforth. She wrote The Miseducation of Cameron Post that got turned into a movie. But it's queer. It has like horror movie vibes.
Okay.
It's told from like 3 different POVs if that's something that you're into. But it was good. Nice. I feel like that's one of the books I read in the last year that really... And also they both die at the end. Another queer. Oh, that one's like pretty popular.
It's a YA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That has been on my list for a while to read.
It's good, especially like if you're like me and you're scared of death. It's very interesting. Like a very interesting world.
I am afraid of death, so maybe I'll give it a read.
Yeah, I feel like everyone should have a healthy fear of death.
Yeah,
that's just me.
What else we got?
Best clue of all time.
Ooh,
I don't know.
You know what comes to mind right away, and I cannot for the life of me remember this clue, but I feel like anybody in the Crossworld listening will know what we're talking about, because I think it won one of those end-of-year crossword awards that blog gives out.
The Ken one.
The Ken one.
Yeah, if you know, you know. Yeah.
It was so good.
If you didn't have a crossword podcast, what would you have a podcast on? Don't say cats.
First of all, how dare you?
We actually do have 2 other podcasts. But, well, one of them
neither of them are about cats. But we did do a episode, what was it, 50?
50, part 1 and part 2.
About cats.
Yeah.
So.
But our first podcast we ever did is all about The Sound of Music. It's only 6 episodes, I think. The first 2 have horrible audio, but it gets better.
Yes, it gets better. And I mean, like, our audio now is even better than it was then. But like, we were under different, we were doing different things back then. Yeah. But yes,
we didn't know what we were doing.
We had no idea. We did one on The Sound of Music, but that's not the first podcast we ever recorded together.
Right. I started my very first, I feel like it might still be out there. I love made-for-TV Christmas movies. So I did like a little podcast about that just around the holiday season. And I had some friends, including Chelsea. Yeah, that was the first one we recorded, where basically we just talk shit about a made-for-TV Christmas movie.
I never watched any made-for-TV Christmas movies. I think I shied away from them because I had like this internal like bias against like anything soapy. I am so far over that bias now. Honestly, meeting Grace and like her engaging in like that kind of media, I was like, oh, it's totally normal for girls to be able to like watch soapy TV shows without feeling guilty about it. I used to be very much like I only watch like art house films. Like, fuck you. And we watched it was so much fun. And we talked about how the guy took his shirt off, Kevin, the baker.
Yes. Oh, well, it was like Vanessa Hudgens' best friend is like the most handsome person I've ever seen in my life, and they were best friends and they worked together, but she like wasn't interested in him at all.
Yeah, and he was a baker.
Yeah, and he always had a shirt off, and it's like, you're a baker, you do not have a six-pack if you're a baker. Like, you are in the gym 8 days a week,
exactly
with that body.
So yes, she has that, and then there is another podcast that we have started. It's not cat related, but I'm not going to say it's cats adjacent, but it falls in that liking sphere of ours where we really just like something because it's kind of bad, but we just love it so much because even though it's kind of bad, it's amazing. We do have a podcast called Meet Me in Forks where we were trying to read the recent Midnight Sun release, which if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, it is Twilight themed. Stephanie Meyer released the first Twilight book, re-released it, but from Edward's point of view instead of Bella's. It is horrendous.
We couldn't get through it.
So bad to the point where we like literally stopped recording the podcast mid-read because it was so hard.
I would still like to do a Twilight podcast, but I just don't know how we would do it.
I know.
If there were more people that were interested.
We should get Hannah.
Yeah.
I think Hannah, who thinks Robert Pattinson is American.
She was shocked to find out he was British. Shocked.
I think she'd be good fun to have on the podcast.
You're right.
We just need more of like a round table for something like that because I feel like the conversation could be a lot of fun. But outside of that, we have toyed with a couple other ideas. We've toyed with that art one.
Sculpture this. Where we just get drunk and or high and then talk about art, even though we literally know nothing about art.
Yes.
If that's something that people would... It's hard doing a podcast if you can't see it, though.
Well, we'd have to... We're kind of dabbling in the YouTube realm, and I'm trying to get better with, like, editing, because YouTube is, like, very specific of, like, what makes it and what doesn't. You really have to be good at editing and, like, have all the graphics and, like, all this stuff. But I feel like that's something that if we released it on YouTube, it would be very successful.
Yeah. Something we could talk about again. But
we got to talk about it again.
Would people like that? Let us know.
At the end of the day, I would like that.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to...
Okay, but what if you did I feel like if I did a podcast on my own, it would be probably about like horror. I would love to do a podcast about horror movies and TV shows, but it's like so oversaturated.
Yeah.
But I love to talk about
those. Have thought about starting... Again, I've recently gotten into YouTube because of like my whole K-drama obsession. I'm also really into K-pop right now. Don't even get me started. But doing like K-pop reaction videos.
Yeah.
Because that's like my favorite thing to watch. And the K-pop reaction videos that do well is like, I made my boyfriend watch his very first K-pop video. It's like getting people who've never seen K-pop to like sit down and like watch videos and like react. That shit gets like thousands and thousands of views.
Yeah, that could be you. Well, also, I would love to do I think it's more like a Twitch. Well, no, you do it on YouTube. Like, we like to play those video games that are kind of choose your own adventure story games.
Yes.
And you can play like the whole game in 8 hours, usually, sometimes longer. But I feel like that would be...
I would love to do that.
Fun.
I would love to do that.
It'd be fun if people were watching us do it live.
Well, with the stream.
I know, but Twitch is... It's like all these things are so... It's not like you're only doing it for an audience, but it's a lot of setup and stuff.
It is. My brother Twitch streams, and he... I don't know, he's in the creator... I don't know what it ever... The TikTok, the creator pool, but for Twitch, he's in that.
Oh, he could shout us out, maybe.
He could probably shout us out. He's going to the... Well, he was supposed to go to the TwitchCon 2020, but that didn't happen.
Sure, anyway. That smells lovely.
Yes.
As someone who doesn't wear deodorant, but okay. What was your least favorite topic to research?
This is hard because like sometimes because we're recording weekly, which means we have to do research weekly. Sometimes there aren't really a lot of topics to pick from in that week, or not something like that really jumps out at you, and so sometimes it feels like you just have to pick something. Yeah. Or like you pick something and you think, oh, this is going to be cool. And then you get like halfway through and you've done so much research. And you're like, this is actually not that interesting. What do I do? Do I just scrap everything and start over? I've run into that a couple times.
I feel like I have too, but none of it comes to mind anymore. Like, I'm trying to think of a topic that I really didn't like doing.
The two that immediately come to mind, my least favorite to research, and also I just feel like not the strongest to present. An early one, I did a topic on Cetus, which is a constellation of a whale. What was I thinking? And then 3 Mile Island, which was
that one was cool.
It's interesting, but I felt like understanding like the meltdown of the plant was really tricky. And like, I'm somebody who like, if I can't explain something perfectly, I get really in my head about it. And so I feel like as I was trying to do it like in the podcast, I was really struggling. And so then it made me hate the topic. And I was like, oh my God.
You're like halfway into learning about how nuclear reactors work. You're like, I can't back out now. I know there's definitely topics where I felt that way, but I can't think of any. If any come to me.
Okay. Yes.
By the end of this, I'll mention.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I try. That's like one of my ways to pick a topic. Is like, okay, something I'm actually like interested in learning more about. So there have been times where I'm like halfway through and I'm like, no, can't do this. But sometimes it's hard. Like there's weeks where I'm choosing between like 3 really good topics, and other weeks where I'm like, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here. So any constructors out there, try and like throw in
we need some interesting trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't. Once I start doing the research, it is rare. I think maybe once out of the many years we've been doing this, have I ever scrapped mid-research. I'm insane.
You have to see it through.
I have to see it through. And also because like I put so much effort into it.
Yeah.
That it feels like I'm really losing something.
Yeah, no, like probably not halfway through. I'm probably like 25% of the way through. I don't think I would scrap halfway through because that's like too much.
Yeah. What else we got?
What is your comfort TV show? Oh.
I can answer this not a K-drama.
Oh, okay.
It's an anime.
Uh-huh.
It's called Yuri on Ice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about like gay Japanese figure skaters.
Okay.
It's amazing. It was really important at the time when it was released because it was like the first broadcast gay anime kiss like in Japan. Like there are like web series where there's like queer characters in anime and also television shows, but to have like broadcast like 2 guys kissing broadcast like on TV in Japan was a huge deal. And so Yuri on Ice was very groundbreaking. And it's about figure skating. And everybody in the show is so gay. It's amazing. And anyway, I like to like get high and just sit on the couch and watch it. Because the main character lives in a Japanese onsen. So they're always in and out of the spa. And I'm just like, I want to eat pork katsu and go in the spa.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
So that's my comfort show.
That's cute. I feel like I've switched over the years. Like I go through phases. I was definitely a big Office person for a while. Like just watching it over and over and over again. That's also an anxiety thing. Is like you tend to watch the same things. Happy Endings is another one that I feel like not that many people have seen.
I haven't.
It's only 3 seasons.
Recommended me?
I think so, probably. It's I mean, it's kind of like Friends, but funnier. It's still like a little outdated now when you watch it, but that one, and then now my comfort show is Broad City. That's like the show that I put on. It's like, well, I don't know what to watch, but I just want to like chill and watch something. I love Broad City, which you haven't seen. I know. No, I get it. I'm the same way. It takes me a while to start something, but I feel like you would really, really like it.
No, I know. I feel like I would. I have seen enough of Broad City to know that I would love it.
Yeah, it's so good.
Truly. And like anytime I see like GIFs or clips on TikTok or Instagram, I'm like, this is so well written.
Yeah, and it's very like our sense of humor.
It's very our sense of humor for sure.
And then for like movies, I feel like I love to watch rom-coms, especially like 90s, early 2000s. Like if I'm gonna be like home by myself or something, and I just want to like chill, especially in the beginning of the pandemic when I was home by myself every night. That was like I'm gonna get ice cream and like watch a rom-com.
Yeah, one of the reasons I like K-drama so much is just like most of them are rom-coms.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think one of the reasons I leaned into it so much is because obviously 2020 was just bonkers. It was insane for everybody. It was so depressing to like live through everything we were experiencing. And at the end of the day, I was like not trying to watch
something
that
serious
Chernobyl show that came out on HBO that everybody was watching and said it was horrific. I'm like, I'd rather watch two people fall in love.
Yeah.
And like be happy.
Agreed.
What do we got?
What's your favorite Robert Pattinson film? Twilight?
I think Twilight's the easy one. Okay.
I'm trying to think of other films I've even watched with him, like The Lighthouse, which
I haven't seen it.
It's not, that film is just an experience. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like not built for that type, like there are certain people that eat that up. I'm just like, okay.
Oh God, I heard good things about it, but I'm like so out of like the art house cinema phase of my life that I could honest to God fucking care less.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not good. I just like I'm not drawn to that anymore. I'm watching rom-coms all day.
Make The Lighthouse like a true. It like bordered on horror, but not really.
Yeah, and I feel like there's something with a mermaid. I don't even know.
Oh yeah, there's a mermaid.
Okay, so I think the obvious answer is Twilight because it's just so good. It's bad. I saw a TikTok today about someone talking about the shoes that Edward wore in the first film. Truly, like, okay, think about a line cook.
Yeah.
At like an Olive Garden.
Clogs. And
like the shoes that they're wearing, like the non-slip slide-ons, not necessarily clogs, but slide-ons, and they're just absolutely horrendous to look at.
That's what he's wearing in the first
That's
one?
what he's wearing in the first movie. When he says, say it to her, out loud. And she's like, a vampire.
Come here, spider monkey.
Yeah, that's what he's wearing. So, anyway, yeah, I would have to say that. But, honestly, the fourth Harry Potter movie.
Oh, right, our guy's in Harry Potter.
I feel like... Sadly, it's like one of his strongest roles. I don't know.
No, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Right.
I just haven't seen a lot of
it.
He's in them. This movie came out like years ago, so sorry, spoiler alert. But it's like a rom-com with him and Amanda Siegfried.
What was this called?
Well, it's totally a normal rom-com. Like, will they, won't they? At the end, they finally get together, and then he like goes off to work. And then you realize that he works in the Twin Towers, and it's like the morning of 9/11. I don't know why they did that.
It's like, not funny, but it's like, what the fuck?
That was like the big twist in the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to watch that.
It's honestly, it came at a time when that wouldn't be absurdist humor, but like, I feel like
now
releasing it now is like absurd. It's truly like just absurdist humor.
Yeah. I can't think
there's another movie that he was in. I was obsessed with this movie when I was younger. He played Salvador Dali.
No.
Or was it Fernando Federico? God, I need pause.
I'm going to his IMDb right now.
Okay, the film is called Little Ashes, in which he plays, I kid you not, Salvador Dali. It is horrible. The movie's horrible. But I was really into like the oddity of Robert Pattinson at the time. I was really into it. Like, let me show Grace a picture of him as Salvador Dali. It's like, of course, he would take this role.
Oh my God. I feel like he is a good actor, though.
No, I think so too. I also think that he is a weirdo.
Remember Me is the 9/11 movie, and it came out between New Moon and Eclipse.
Okay.
So that was like,
Yeah. Okay. Hey.
He was in, Water for Elephants, where he played opposite Reese Witherspoon.
I didn't like that movie.
I don't think I saw the movie. I just read the book.
Again, I was in my Gaspar Noé like film era where seeing something like Water for Elephants, I was like, this is so cheap. This is so commercial. I could never like this. I wonder if I would like it now. I used to be such a judgy idiot. But I do remember not liking Water for Elephants. Mainly because I didn't think I liked Reese Witherspoon. I like Reese without her spoon, though.
And no, we have not seen Batman. If you had cast Taylor Lautner as Robin in Batman, then we would have seen it.
We would have been there. If you had cast Kristen Stewart as Catwoman,
I just want them to be... I feel like they're on good terms. I just want them to be in a movie together.
I would love that.
Here's something about me. Like, if actors are on screen and off screen, I'm all over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else we got?
What is your kindred spirit? And why? Like animal-wise.
Like an animal? I always said hummingbird.
Ooh. You got that in your back pocket.
I do. I've got that saved up. I think they're just really pretty. I think they're very delicate. I don't know if any of this is related to me. Maybe it's just like the projection of what I've always wanted to be.
Yeah.
But
So, like, knock on wood, but like if you die and I see a hummingbird, then I'll remember. You
yes,
know, that
yeah,
you're
that's
laying
me.
the groundwork.
There it is.
I need to think of something like that. I got nothing.
Come on.
I don't know.
You said the last time we recorded, you said your code name would be Calico? To be a cat?
Sometimes I feel like I look at my cat and I'm like, we're similar. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. I like to lounge.
Yeah.
I get upset.
You're prickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't match hummingbird at all, but if I did, that's what I'd want.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I feel like I'm
a king cobra.
I'm definitely more in line with like my dog, who has severe anxiety too. So I mean, like, I'd be barking at anything.
Hummingbird is good though. I feel like I need to think of a unique animal.
All right.
Like a macaw or something. Just so when
Also
people,
in the bird family.
when it comes up. Yeah.
You should say that you think of like a really crazy bird, like an egret or like an emu.
An emu. Emu. Strong legs.
Yeah. What else?
Do you have a favorite crossword that you have ever done and that you still think about from time to time? Well, we talked about the one that was shaped like a heart a lot.
There was also one that was shaped like a panda.
Yeah. I don't remember any of the clues from there, but I like the shapes.
Yeah,
and
we go for a gimmick, don't we?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're easy to please. And I really liked Evan Bernholz's like haunted house crossword where it was like you were in different rooms and
it was
you had to
amazing.
find something in each room.
That
one was
awesome.
wild.
I mean, honestly, Evan, you're killing it out there. You're killing it. I can't think of a specific crossword, although I do have vivid memories of trying and failing to solve any of the crossword on Paolo's personal blog.
Well,
but not like in a bad way. Like, I love doing Paolo's crossword on his personal blog because they're so fucking weird in like the best way.
Didn't he have one where every answer was Oreo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that is the kind of stuff that I like, and that's the stuff that's memorable. Otherwise, like, I think Grace and I really classify positive solving experiences based on the constructor, you know? I think our first really like look into constructor, like looking at puzzles from the lens of a constructor was like when we discovered Amy Lucido.
Mm-hmm.
I think discovering Amy Lucido and then like Eric Agard, we were like, oh, you can really feel the personality of the constructor in the puzzle. And then that was like, oh, sometimes it's about who's constructing the puzzle, really. And that's why, like, I really honestly have never been let down doing their puzzles because you just learn their personality through doing them and you become drawn to them. See, I think that's...
You find out where they live.
You find out where they live, yeah. Like, you ask them to marry you and they say no. And it's like...
They're like, who are you?
They're like, who are you? And they're like, I'm your best friend. You have this incredible parasocial relationship with them and they don't even know it. So, yeah. Thanks out there, guys. Is this our last question?
Yeah, the last question.
We're on to the last question. I can't believe it.
Have you ever tried constructing a crossword puzzle? And if so, how do you think it went? No.
No. The answer is no for me.
I took Ross Trudeau in the beginning of quarantine had like a little like a Zoom class type thing. Not really a class, but anyways, it was like teaching people how to do it, and I learned a lot about how constructing works, like the word bank. And I was like, oh, okay, I felt like I understood now more, like some crossword ease words too. I'm like, okay, it just makes sense. Like they need something to fill in there.
I think after you took that class, we really had a greater appreciation for constructing. And like we have our hits and shits at the front of our episode every week. And I think prior to Grace taking this class, we had a lot more shits than we do now. And, you know, mainly because we just know more about crosswords now. Yeah. And also we're just trying not to be as negative, I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I feel like it's harder to get started than you would. You need like more thing, you know, there's some barriers to entry. Yeah. So it would be fun, I think, if we like collaborated.
I think that'd be fun
with someone, because I have some ideas for a theme. Okay, I have it written down in my journal. So
maybe we should. I know that there are some like groups out there, and some constructors that we're aware of, like help and also like not like mentor. Yeah. I feel like we could probably find somebody who could help us.
The problem is, I don't think I would do it regularly, so I don't want to like invest in all this stuff that I would need to do it, but like just one time maybe would be fun.
I think
we should join that like senior Jewish
Yeah. What is
Community
it called? JAR?
JWC?
There's a group in New York that they like work together and construct a crossword, and it gets published in the New York Times, and you see it like once a year.
It's really good too, because there's
really
always like
good.
a lot of people contributing on it.
But it's like a senior group.
Yeah, and I think it's Jewish as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, hey, why not?
They're pretty accepting, so.
Yeah. I've always wanted to. I know Matt has downloaded a constructing app, like the program, because you have a program, and then inside the program, you have like a word list, and like that's I think the biggest. I don't want to say like well kept secret, but I think like most lay people who aren't in the crossword don't realize that constructors keep a list of words.
Yeah. Someone released a free database.
Yeah. I think that's like the biggest thing is like building your word list, because like the more interesting words you have on there, the more interesting your crosswords are going to be. When we see puzzles, we're like, oh my God, that's amazing. We saw one was like Kim Kardashian or something, or Khloe Kardashian was like 15 all the way across. And we're like, wow, we would never have thought of that, And like you build up your word list, and then you're able to make really interesting puzzles. And like, I think in quarantine, people started releasing word lists to make it easier to kind of get into the crossword field.
Yeah. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
It's a fever dream.
If it happens, you guys will be literally the first to know outside of our immediate family. So that's that.
That's it. Those are all our questions.
Those were some good questions, right?
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun.
Let's do that. It's so nice not to do research. Let's do that every week. We just get to talk about ourselves.
That's perfect. Yeah. It's like having a conversation with a couple close friends. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. A couple hundred listeners.
100 listeners.
100 plus, by the way.
If
y'all are in good company.
Yeah. If you have additional questions, send them in. We'll just keep them in like a pile in our room. Mm-hmm. For the next time we need to do a Q&A.
We'll write it down physically on a slip of paper. Put that paper inside a piggy bank. In a year from now, we will open the piggy bank with a hammer and answer
live on air and answer your questions. We should do that. That'd be hilarious. We always say that we're going to do something and we never do.
Yeah, that's my whole...
That's our shtick.
Sometimes just imagine that I'm doing that.
Yeah, if you believe anything we say at this point, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Yeah. Anyway, this has been real. This has been fun. What I liked most about this is how curious our listeners were. Curious about us. They're keeping curious out there.
That's us.
That's us.
So, yeah. Well, if you want to know next time we're doing a Q&A, follow us on Twitter at The Good Eve Girls.
Or Instagram at The Good Evening Girls.
Or TikTok at The Good Eve Girls.
Yes, come find us on YouTube as well, The Good Evening Girls. We release the same recording every week there, but there's a video with it if you are interested in what kind of glasses I'm wearing. Come on by.
The world wants to know.
Yeah. But until next time...
For the people watching on YouTube, I have a strange shelf behind me now with a bunch of I just moved in. This is just like a placeholder. I'm not going to have just one shelf of candlesticks.
This is the only
and then a top shelf with candles.
She has just candles. Candles. And this is the only piece of furniture she has in this entire apartment. We've been holding up our laptops this entire time with our hands, and I've been standing this whole time. So
yeah. So we should probably go and rest. Thanks for listening. And thanks for
the questions.
Yeah. And also hanging in there, because this is coming after a week of no episode, and there's not going to be an episode next week. Yeah. And it's my fault. So if you have something nasty to say.
Sorry, that's my medication reminder. Take my Zyrtec. Snooze.
If you have something nasty to say it to me and not to Chelsea. Okay.
Thank you.
But yeah, hope everyone's doing well, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.